In today's video, we're installing the P3 vent gauge from Kies Motorsports in my M235i. What's up, you guys? Welcome to the video. If you're new here, my name is Josh. Thanks for tuning in to another video, another day, another modification, another install. Today we're working on my BMW M235i. We got the P3 vent gauge from Kies Motorsports. We have the OBD option, which there is two options available. There is a Hardwire option and an OBD option, which I went with the OBD2 option as I have no problem keeping that OBD plugged in at all times, and just if I ever need to use that OBD port for anything else, I can just unplug the P3 gauge. I went with this option being I feel like it would be more of a simplicity type process for strictly video purposes, as well as I think it's a little bit easier. I don't really want to do the hardwire process, not gonna lie, one bit. And there's also a few different options as well, being that you can come with this assembly pre-installed to a vent. This is going to take the place of the two top slats in your left hand vent right next to your steering wheel. So I went with the option to we're going to assemble this in my OEM vent, as well as you could also get this pre-installed and get a whole entire new vent if that's the route you wanted to choose. So let's get started. Alright, so here is the kit from P3. We got the actual vent piece right here. Comes with a cool sticker as always. We got the wiring harness as well as the control box. We got a little instructional guide over here. This kit includes display, the control box, the main harness, the OBD2 cable. Then there's optional items. We just went with the traditional kit. We got some settings, little contents option. We're gonna go with the video guide. It says P3 does have a video guide that I'll link down below that is very insightful. It's a step-by-step just walk through on the uninstalling of the vent, the installing of this little screen, and then the reassemble process. So we have the gauge functions. Your gauge may show additional readings if supported by your vehicle. So we're going to have the boost vacuum, the air fuel ratio. We'll be able to read and clear codes. We'll be able to check the exhaust gas temperature, the raw vehicle speed, the RPM shift lights, the battery voltage, the coolant temperature, the acceleration and braking timers, the intake air pressure, as well as the throttle position. Now, I did get some conflicting information online. I thought one of the main reasons I bought this was we'd be able to read the oil temperature. So we're gonna have to look into that and double check that. The screen comes with a little clip that we'll get into what that's for a little bit later. So at this point, let's head on out to the car and get this vent piece. So then at this time, we're gonna go ahead and plug everything in, make sure we're getting power, and see if we're good to go. So as you guys can see, the display is lighting up and we were able to scroll through the different options. So then at this time, we're gonna go ahead and remove this trim piece. We're gonna go ahead and take a trim tool, but if you've done this plenty of times, you'll know that you can just pop this right on out without the trim tool. I mean, the trim tool makes it a little bit easier, but once you've done this plenty of times, it will just pop right on out. And then as you can see, the P3 gauge is going to take the place of these top two slats, so we're going to have to go ahead and disassemble this piece, install the vent piece, and we'll be good to go. Should be smooth sailing. So then at this time, we're going to go ahead and start disassembling the vent. There's a few clips along the very top. You can just take a flathead screwdriver, gently pry up, and it should just pop right on out, and you can slide right on out. So then at this point in the process, we're going to have to go ahead and remove this little vent brace. We're going to use a small flathead screwdriver. You can use just a small screwdriver, something sharp. We're going to go ahead from the sides and gently pry up, and you'll notice it kind of pops out a little bit. Do the same thing on this side. Oh, and definitely don't drop it and do that. Alright, so then once you're able to remove the vent and disassemble, have everything oriented, we're going to go ahead and remove these top two. There is this little metal bracket that we're going to go ahead and replace. P3 provides this little black wrench shaped object that's taped to the vent. We're going to go ahead and grab this at this time. And then this little wrench piece is going to go on the bottom 2 slats. So I'm going to do my best to show you guys this, even though it'll be a little bit difficult since they're small black pieces. But the little wrench is going to go ahead and take the place of this long metal bracket, and then it's going to go on, it's going to just get clipped into both slats and then give the slats just still the functionality to just go up and down and move. So we're going to gently go ahead and feed this little wrench option onto this little clip very gently. You don't want to break anything, even though it does take a little bit of force. Alright, so then hopefully you guys can see that. So then once the little wrench piece is installed behind here, we're going to go ahead and reassemble everything. We're going to have to go ahead and use like a pinching motion, but it's going to be a little bit challenging. We just got to be patient and just keep everything pinched together. So then with some trial and error, as I'm not going to lie, this is way more challenging than I thought it would be. I guess this is why people go with the pre-installed vent option, but we're going to go ahead and just put in this wire in the vent. We're looking for all the way to the left, and then when it comes out, you want it to come out underneath the flaps, and then all the way to the left underneath, and then we're going to make sure everything is nice and flat. Pull this through, and then we're going to go ahead and reassemble. Do our best. This is definitely a lot more challenging than I thought it would be. Then you're going to want to squeeze on for dear life on the 2 sides, but not too much pressure, but just enough to hold it together, as it's very finicky, very challenging, but a little bit of patience goes a long way. So then we're going to gently slide this back on in. Alright, so we got it installed. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, one bit, it is very challenging. You're just pretty much the whole time trying to just like squeeze and pinch together, whereas lining in like 1 pin to the one side, you get all 4 on this side, but then 1 pops out on this side. It's very tedious. It's very just like, you want to be as gentle as possible because it's just small plastic little tabs on each side, but then obviously you need a little bit of pressure enough to just like kind of pinch together. It's a little bit challenging, I'm not gonna lie. If I had to do this over, I would probably just buy the pre-installed vent, but then you're gonna want to go ahead and just, there's a small tab in the back to just line up to the very middle vent, so that way you still have the functionality of moving from left to right, so make sure that lines up. And then you're going to go ahead and make sure it's all the way to the left and then coming out of the bottom. So with this flip flop, the wire will be in the back right here, so you want to put it oriented towards the bottom, so it comes out underneath on the bottom, but all the way to the left, so then that way when you go and close this, it just lays nice and flat and nice and clean. But not bad, I'm not gonna lie. Probably about a half an hour of just like fidgeting around. It's just challenging with the whole squeezing process and then trying to line everything up, but with a little bit of patience, a lot more patience than I thought I was gonna need to do this. I'm not gonna lie, I thought this would be a little bit more easy, but is what it is. It looks good, it was worth it, and just a little bit of patience and you'll get there. So then the best part about it, you still retain the functionality of just moving the vents to control airflow that still opens and closes. So it looks really sleek, as well as still provides that functionality of airflow. So then with the very back, you'll notice that it's tapered off with black tape. You can go ahead and pinch this around, as this isn't going to damage or break anything. It's designed to taper off like this so that way it won't break. So that way when you close the vent, it's just nice and smooth. And then we can just pinch it down to orient it so we can go down, and that way we can run the wire and install everything out in the car. So at this point, let's head on out to the car. And then pro tip, before you put the housing back on, when you still have everything pinched together and you're sliding it in, make sure to slide everything in and then push from the sides. That way you'll hear it clip right into place. You don't want to push from the middle or even on the slats because you don't want to break anything. So just make sure to slide everything in and then push from each side, and then you'll hear it clip right on into place. So then, continuing with the installation process, we're going to go ahead and pull back this weather stripping a little bit, pull off this little side panel piece, and get the wire routed in there and get this vent installed. So I'm going to get started with running the bottom portion. This is actually the plug that plugs into the OBD. I'm going to run this wire up from that little port underneath and then feed it all the way up. Alright, so as you can see, the wire is now feeded through. We're going to go ahead and get everything plugged up. We're going to mount over the control box. There's a flat piece of plastic down there that I'll show you guys in a bit. And we'll get this mounted on so that way the control box isn't moving around, and then we're just going to go ahead and tuck all the wires, clean everything up. Should be smooth sailing. Alright, so then as you can see on the side, here is the control box just mounted on this piece of plastic right here. So I just used some double-sided Velcro tape, so that's on there. Pretty snug, it's not going to move around, but then it's also easily accessible for removal if anything. So I really think that worked out just nicely. Alright, so now for one of the best parts of the whole process. How satisfying that always is. So this just looks so stealth. And it's just very subtle, but then it just adds just such a nice, clean, sleek look. Regardless of the functionality, it just looks very just OEM plus. It looks very clean. It looks like it's just one of those mods that look like it could have came from a factory like this, which is, these are the type of mods I love the best. It looks so good. Alright, so I'm just scrolling through, just looking through the options and whatnot. There is a PDF that I'm gonna have to go in and look at from P3 that's gonna have all like the configuration and whatnot. So I took a quick peek at that, and it's a big long file, so I'm gonna have to go ahead and read that as I got a lot to learn. But I'll have everything linked down in the description as well, with this PDF and as well as the actual product itself. But so far I am very content going through battery, we got fuel, boost. So yeah, I gotta dive in and learn all these settings and all this and whatnot. But drop a comment down below if I should make more of like an in-depth video on the configuration and going through all the menus, as once I get the hang of everything and learn all these different menus, I can make that at a later time. But so far, this is looking awesome. Alright guys, so at this point of the process, the installation is fully complete, fully installed, and it looks fantastic. I'm very content with just the overall OEM Plus design. At this point, we're going to go into the PDF that P3 so conveniently has. I'll add in that screen record. We'll just go over all the available functions. There's a bunch of different readouts. We can go through the boost readouts, the coolant temperature, the air intake temp, the ignition timing. There's so many, it's actually pretty crazy. You can go and check the throttle position, the engine speed, the shifts, the speed, 0 to 60 acceleration. You can check the battery voltage. It's actually pretty mind-blowing how many things there are, which is really cool to have everything just at the touch of their fingers, right to the left, right next to the steering wheel. It's just very convenient. Scrolling down a little bit, and probably one of my favorite things is you can read some codes, you can clear some codes, which is having that functionality right there. I mean, I have a scanner as well, which is, I mean, it's not that big a deal to just plug it into the OBD, but to have that already all be there just is so convenient. So that might be one of my favorite things, is to be able to go in and clear code right there, no issues at all. So then going through the configuration, just need to click both buttons at the same exact time, go through the configuration settings. So I actually need to go ahead and do all this myself, so maybe at a later date I'll make a video on just configuration and going through all the menus actually in the Gauge. But so far I'm very content. I have a lot to learn, but there is so many different readouts and functions, so I'm very excited to dive in. I appreciate you guys for watching. As always, links are down in the description. I'll leave this PDF guide as well as some other install instructions. Big shout out to Kies Motorsports. They have plenty of different products for plenty of different cars. These gauges are cross compatible with numerous different cars, so I appreciate you guys for watching. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, make sure you're subscribed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.